In 1950, what was always believed was proclaimed. It had happened before in 1870 with Blessed Pius IX, with the Immaculate Conception, and this is fairly late in time. One can, I think, bracket together with this dogmatic definition one other which has been overlooked because it was less dramatic, but the one that happened actually when I was a student in Rome in the 90s. It was towards the end of the 90s that St. John Paul II published Ordinatio Sacerdotalis, defining, and I say defining, and it's clear from the wording that he meant to do so, that the female vessel was not capax of holding ordination. It was a vessel that couldn't hold it. It's as if you try to ordain a person who's not baptized. It wouldn't pass. And any return on that is to deny the teaching authority of the Church. It's not something which is up for grabs. When the Holy Father speaks in this way, he intends to engage the authority of the Church, and he's not speaking then in his own person. He is protected by the Holy Ghost. And so we have this profound teaching, Munificentissimus Deus, of Pius XII, which begins with a historical overview of the fact that it was always believed, but not proclaimed as such. It was just there. He had already written to all the bishops of the Church to sound them out in such a way that he was doing it in communion with them. And in this great document, he looks at the early fathers, at the East, the liturgy of the Church in East and West, and calmly and serenely is able to proclaim that this was always our faith, but he was defining it as such. It was a year of grace for the Church. At that time, the unravelling of things not that far down the line was not foreseeable. Indeed, when the Second Vatican Council broke out, it was a buzz in the air, a new spring, we thought. And it was actually a time of grace also. But old Nick, as you know, managed to find loopholes, and we're still trying to unravel things. But let's be clear. What we see happening is not what was taught. They're two separate issues, and one can't therefore say that an ecumenical council was not guided or protected. What we can say is that those applying it were very badly led quite often, and we're still seeing it out there before our eyes. Nothing to do with the Holy Ghost. Just be clear when talking about these things where the problem is. So dogma. We know that at Fatima, Our Lady had said that Portugal would always be faithful to the dogma of the Church, which implies that there was a part of the message in that third secret which carried on and which we have not yet heard. I close that brackets. The faith, therefore, of the Church. I remember when in Rome we were all sent to the penitentiary just before ordination. That's where all the sins, the big sins of the Church, indulgences, everything is sorted out by our Holy Mother, the Church. It's a part of the Vatican, not in the Vatican itself, but it's in another part of Rome. It's a whole palace, enormous thing. And all of us were there to be told how to hear confessions by the highest authority, and we were also warned about this threat to orthodoxy. The Church itself is saying this now by these calm men of God in the Vatican, warning us before ordination what was out there. And they hit on the head this burgeoning heresy. And they put it like this. They went into all the privilege of our Blessed Lady, the greatest of creatures, who outshone Lucifer, who had been at one stage the brightest of all, but owned it by pride and fell, but hates now our Blessed Lady because she has taken his place. All the privileges she had, prepared, immaculate, in her already, that chain was broken at the Immaculate Conception, hence the importance of that feast. And the consequences also followed. Our faith is logical. It made no sense, and Pius XII went into this, quoting early fathers. It was abhorrent to the Christian mind to think that the sacred body of our Blessed Lady, which had been the temple of the Incarnation, could be reduced to worms. And therefore, that her glorification was all part of our logical faith, that she was the first, with her body also, to be glorified. And from there, they added this point and hit us with it hard. This was the highest of our race. All the privileges were given to her. It would have been logical that the Son of God would have broken with all tradition and would have made her, before anyone else, a priest of the Church. But he opted not to, and we cannot either. And they warned us that this was not negotiable or human. It was the will of God expressed. You women, don't look over your shoulder as though you were missed men. You have your own beauty, and you must seek it in your fulfillment as women, not dress or behave or want to be as men in all things. The beauty of a woman is not inferior, it is other. And what is more glorious than to create new life and foster it? Or, as a beautiful virgin, to be wedded to the Son of God, as a consecrated virgin, a sister, a nun. I know many, some who entered very early, 19, who've been fulfilled in love of a different order, and escaped all the ups and downs of ecstasy and woe linked to disappointment in human love. Man cannot be counted upon. How sad it is that so many young women place all their joy in the perfect man who never was and never will be, except in Jesus Christ. Some years ago, I found myself right next to our Blessed Lady. Those who find difficulty with this, just fast forward and go to sleep, but I'll say it all the same. Friends from Ireland paid for me to go to Medjugorje, and because I was just ordained, they let me go right next to Maria when the Blessed Virgin was about to appear. She was there, and I was there. And I was asked to lead this little group in prayer, in the Rosary. Suddenly, she was in a different world. Her lips were moving, but we couldn't hear what she was saying, and she was looking in joy at a person who was right there. A person, I say, who was right there. You can't fake that. And you know, she stayed longer that night than she would have done normally. And when Maria came to, she said she was delighted to have these priests around. That's our mother. That's how close she is. And you know that when it was all starting in 1981, the children, the young people, asked her about the true church and these other Christians and whatnot. And she's reported to have answered this: my son leads all his children as a king does his army, giving them to understand that we haven't quite the vision of God. But she added this, and I leave it with you. If it is true that all my apparitions happen in the Catholic Church, should not that mean something to you? That's how she speaks, succinctly and to the point. And we, my friends, must do the same.